Welcome back to the channel. This is Trendy Storm and you are watching third part of What If Naruto Became Kyuubi's Heir. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe to the channel. Now wasting no more time, let's start the story.
Naruto and his group jumped from one rooftop of a fire country building to another on their way to the capital building to meet with the fire daimyo. The people walking through the streets, minding their own business, had no idea that an infamous group of shinobi was about to meet their feudal lord. Naruto wondered what would happen if they accidentally landed on the streets to make their presence known to the people going about their daily lives. Would they yell? Should I contact the police or a shinobi? Should we applaud them and hail them as heroes? Organize a parade? Maybe not the latter of all the options, but cheering seemed possible, even if it was still as likely to happen when Sasuke finally admitted he was gay. Naruto quickly made their way into the castle-like structure without being detected by the outer wall guards, deciding to let such thoughts die in his mind. The group entered the inner sanctum of the Fire Lord's home, only to find a team of leaf shinobi standing guard outside the room. According to Zabuza, who had visited the water daimyo several times when the country was still solid, feudal lords had well-armed escort in the form of a large standardized force of veteran samurai bodyguards. They had only been able to meet with the last two daimyos in Kumo and Wind Country in private due to sheer luck and the influence of the shinobi village they supported's cage. This time, however, all they had to show was a dead traitor of the leaf in the form of Kabuto, which, while impressive, would not provide the leverage required for the private audience Naruto desired in order to prevent possible spies from hearing the conversation. "Shall we proceed, Naruto-sama?" Haku asked, his senbon needles ready to strike at a moment's notice. "Yes, Haku. Again, do not kill them unless it is unavoidable. If and when I do return to Konoha, I would rather not give that bastard council a reason to try to kill me," said Naruto, knowing that with the exception of a few, he would be back in Konoha soon to save their sorry asses. Naruto also made a mental note to see Hinata again, and for a brief moment he considered how she had undoubtedly grown into a powerful shinobi. "I'll see her again, and maybe, just maybe we'll be together," Naruto thought as his mind recalled her scent had traces of lavender flowers that his instincts in his mind called to him to smell off her again. Putting his personal feelings aside for the time being, Naruto and his group attacked first, catching the leaf shinobi off guard because none of them had prepared for a full frontal assault. Haku's senbon needled several chunin before using several B-ranked wind jutsu to knock several more into the walls around him. Zabuza slashed several junin with the width of his large sword, incorporating a taijutsu style he had learned from scrolls found in a small village that had attempted, but failed, to become a shinobi village. Kimimaro created a bow staff from his bloodline limit, causing many of his opponents to suffer concussions or broken bones in different parts of their bodies where he struck them. Yugito simply used kunai to inflict damage, making sure to only inflict wounds that would force them to retreat or seek medical attention. Naruto simply moved around the battle, hitting Junin on the left and right as he moved to the door, holding the fire daimyo. "When you report back to the Hokage, tell her that we are unimpressed and that you should all return to the academy to relearn the basics," Naruto said, now standing in front of the double doors, only to hit someone behind him without looking back before opening to enter the large room. Yugito quickly followed him, while Kimimaro, Zabuza, and Haku stood guard outside the door in case any more shinobi or samurai appeared uninvited. When Naruto and Yugito entered the large room, there was a small army surrounding the entire area, with the fire daimyo himself sitting on his throne with a stone face of passiveness similar to Naruto's own. The feudal lord himself was a well-built individual who had trained himself to be worthy of the title of daimyo, rather than the usual sniveling bureaucrat like the council in Konoha. The man sitting on his somewhat opulent throne was showing his age to be in his mid-40s, but he still carried himself as if he were still in his 20s. The man had green eyes, brown hair, and a faint scar on his right cheek that went up to the corner of his eye, though Naruto didn't know if the scar came from training with one of his instructors or surviving an assassination attempt as a child. Thank you for allowing us to meet, Daimyo-sama, Naruto said, bowing to the Fire Lord, who did the same. The pleasure was entirely mine, though I am curious as to why you and your group decimated the shinobi force assigned to me by Konoha, said the feudal lord, his gaze piercing Naruto's, knowing that if the Fox Prince was lying, he would see it. They were too lax in their guarding of this room, and had we come here to kill you, we would have succeeded in getting closer than anyone else, Naruto said, despite the fact that killing them all was not difficult despite the numbers disadvantage. Quality has always won out over quantity. While that is a valid point, I hope you don't try anything with my bodyguards here because they are quite sharp with their own skills, the Fire Daimyo said as Naruto looked around the large force of samurai who were all willing to die for him. They all look impressive, and I have no doubt that they are quite skilled with a blade, as I am sure you are should they fail to protect you, but I am no threat to you, just as I am no threat to the previous feudal lords I have visited in my travels, which I am sure you are quite aware of, Naruto said, knowing that the Fire Daimyo was aware of such visits to the other lords of the elemental countries. All the same, Leader Sama, I hope you will respect my decision to keep my guards here as a precaution, said the Fire Daimyo calmly, though he wondered if the man in front of him would make a fuss. It's your decision, not mine. I just wanted to talk to you away from potential spies who might try to use our conversation to their advantage. I assume you're aware of the Akatsuki turning their attention towards us, and we both know that Orochimaru isn't exactly letting the slayer of his second-in-command go unpunished, Naruto said, taking a few steps forward until they were less than 20 feet apart. Yes, the reports given to me about such news were most impressive on your part in getting everyone in all the elemental countries to recognize your group. Many had speculated that the original three were under the command of another, which turned out to be you. However, from what I see, this lovely lady standing behind you is clearly a new member of your group, bringing it to a total of 5 members, said the Fire Daimyo, knowing that even with the cloak and mask over her form, he was able to see such things because he was around so many of his harem at night. While I respect the fact that your eyes are very sharp, Daimyo-sama, I am not here to discuss such things with you. I am here to discuss some important and quite sensitive information with you concerning the Leaf Village, Naruto said, knowing that mentioning Konoha would get the daimyo's full attention. Oh? And what information do you have that I don't already know? Said Fire Daimyo, now scowling at Naruto with a mix of curiosity in his voice. Tell me, Daimyo-sama. Have you ever heard of Uzumaki Naruto and the trials he endured in a place that despised him so much? Naruto couldn't help but smile behind his mask. The bait had been caught, and it was now time to reel in the big fish. Naruto took out the Sandame's journal and a storage scroll, and a long conversation with the Fire Lord began. Konoha too several weeks later. What do you mean the Fire Daimyo is cutting Konoha's budget by 40%? Danzo exclaimed, visibly upset by the shocking news. It was advice given to the Fire Daimyo from his new advisor, since the ones you all sent to gain favor with him were killed for reasons the man won't state. However, from what the letter given to me says, certain people in this room deliberately tried to go against the wishes of the Yondaime, and the law set by the Sandame regarding Uzumaki Naruto. Surely this is some kind of lie, Homura said, sweating and wondering what the Sandame had written in that journal. He sent me some copies of the journal pages to read, and I must say that if I had known what you did based on what was written in these pages, I would have called for all of your heads years ago. Said Tsunade, yelling the last part at the cowering Konoha council members, knowing that whatever she had read was powerful enough to invoke her wrath. We had to, Hokage-sama. The demon needed to be restrained, controlled, and, if necessary, killed for the sake of the people of the village, Kaharu said, trying to remain calm in the face of the enraged woman who was about to send them all to the hospital's emergency room. No. You did it out of your own personal hatred for the Yondaime and the Sandame, who wanted to replace you with younger, more level-headed council members. You couldn't stand the fact that you were leaving your positions because change was coming, so you did everything in your power to ensure that change or not, you would still be in power to make the Yondaimi's legacy suffer. He was and still is a demon. Demons have no place in our world, Tsunade. The human race is the dominant species on this earth and thus rule over it, not abominations like the Kyuubi brat, not abominations like the sand demon Suna had elected as their new cage, but naturally born humans, Tsunade, Danzo said, not shriveling up like his spineless council members did when she looked at them. They are naturally born, you fool, and for your information, if it wasn't for Naruto, you would be nothing more than fox shit after the Kyuubi got through with you. Exclaimed Tsunade, turning her rage-filled gaze on Danzo, who flinched at her gaze. As much as I'd like to see them tremble under your rage, Hokage-sama, I have a feeling you'll all want to hear this, Jiraiya said as he entered through the window, a smirk on his face, as if he, the cat, had eaten the canary and gotten away with it. Jiraiya? What are you doing here so soon, you pervert? Tsunade asked, knowing that the man had been dispatched to find out where Naruto was because the boy had promised Hinata that he would return to her after 3 years, but had yet to do so. No respect. Honestly, if more women stopped being so stingy and picky about everything, men wouldn't be so perverted, Jiraiya joked, only to pause when he heard Tsunade's knuckles crack. Just tell me why you're here, exclaimed Tsunade, who was tired of dealing with her old teammates' shenanigans. Fine. If you must know, I made contact with Naruto, Jiraiya said, smiling again as Tsunade's expression changed from angry to happy. Of course, the council was not overjoyed with the news. And you didn't kill him? Exclaimed Koharu, staring at the Sannin in disbelief because they had ordered him to kill the boy if they ever met. Why would I do that? You may have sent those orders to me after Naruto escaped your clutches from you wanting him dead, but as a Sannin, it's my choice if I want to follow through with it if I want to. Besides, from what I understand in terms of current events, the Fire Daimyo is not exactly pleased with how you treated the boy, which is the end result of this village's feudal lord now hurting Konoha financially, right? I say we send our best hunter ninjas to find the Kyuubi and kill that demon once and for all. Danzo exclaimed, refusing to let this demon vessel push him or his ideas for Konoha's future around. You can't because the Fire Daimyo won't let you. After reading Sarutobi Journal, Sensei's the Fire Daimyo has decreed that any harm befall Naruto at the hands of any Konoha shinobi will result in a complete shutdown of funding. He's not the only one to give such an order, as the Lighting Daimyo and the Wind Daimyo have decreed the same thing, said Jiraiya, finding it amusing that the Where is Naruto now? Tsunade wondered, hoping to send someone to meet with her younger brother and persuade him to return home. He's in another country right now on business for the Fire Lord to arrange further trade agreements, but he forbade me from telling because he didn't want anyone in Konoha to try and come after him. From the way your outburst, Danzo and the rest of the council, he guessed you all right on the money. Don't worry though, because where he's headed there is already Leaf Shinobi in the area and they were informed of this new policy made by the Fire Daimyo. Does Naruto want to return? Tsunade hoped the boy would return to his home despite the difficulties. If necessary, she would execute every single arrogant bastard who despised him. Maybe. When I first saw him, I begged him to return to Konoha so that everyone who cared about him could be happy. His response was, well, giving me quite possibly the beating of a lifetime that was literally within an inch of my life. The only other time that happened was with you, Tsunade, when we were kids, Jiraiya smirked, though he winced at Naruto's because the look in the boy's eyes when he delivered the punches was emotionless, yet filled with so much hatred. When the beating began, Naruto seemed to be picturing Konoha in general on Jiraiya. Wait. If he did that to you, when did you run into him? Tsunade wondered how long it had been since the two had met, given the type of beating Jiraiya had just described. It was about a week ago. He then healed the majority of my injuries before abandoning me at a nearby hospital and instructing the doctors to only have male nurses tend to me while I recovered from the rest of them. Even now, the kid discriminates against pervert ways, Jiraiya said, wishing he had seen a single female doctor or nurse during his recovery, but Naruto forced him to wait until he was fully recovered. Even so, when Jiraiya approached several nurses, they appeared to be armed with far more needles than they should have been, making the Toad Sannin very nervous. If he beat you within an inch of your life, how do you know his response was maybe, as you so casually put it? Homura questioned the Toad Sannin. Because if he had wanted it to be an unequivocal no, he would have killed me or left me to die from my wounds after beating the crap out of me. While he was healing my broken body, Naruto told me that if he decided to return to Konoha, it would be on his terms, not yours. If we send a team after him, I suspect he'll send them back in pieces to make his point about returning on his own terms, Jiraiya said, his face now serious, knowing that if the boy wanted, he could kill them all in a surprise attack they'd never see coming. I see. Is it possible to speak with him again? To tell him I miss him? Tsunade hoped her teammate could find Naruto one more time. Not at all. I only found Naruto because he asked me to, and when I did, he wasn't the same kid we knew as Tsunade. All I saw were his eyes when we talked, and even then, I still get a cold shiver up my spine just thinking about it, Jiraiya said, imagining Naruto's new set of eyes, which were clearly from the Kyuubi because they were red like the Kyuubis. So it is true. Naruto has become what he said he would be, Tsunade thought, shivering as she remembered Anko and Guy's mission report 3 years ago about Naruto declaring himself the son of Kyuubi, his eyes turning red slit like the fox. The future Demon King had returned to the human world. Country of the Waves. Naruto stood in the shadows as a group of no more than 2 Chunin and 1 Junin Leaf shinobi performed a C-ranked mission for their Hokage, guarding a food supply wagon. The Demon Prince wondered why shinobi of such high rank would perform such a low-ranked mission. Maybe the old hag was going back to the basics and having Leaf shinobi become re-educated in what they had first learned. Things had changed after Naruto had spoken to the Fire Daimyo about certain matters concerning the ever-infamous organization Akatsuki, Orochimaru, Sasuke, and finally the council in Konoha. The Fire Daimyo seemed to have figured out just who he had been speaking to, since there was no one better to address the issue of one Uzumaki Naruto than the man himself. By the end of the conversation, the Fire Daimyo had decided to make Naruto his personal advisor on matters of his country because all Naruto wanted to do was help people. The Demon Fox Prince was honored by the idea of serving the Fire Daimyo because it would give him experience for when he ruled over Demon World, and as they say, for one to lead, one must learn to follow. Yosh. Now that our youthful mission is complete, Shikamaru-san, we must return soon so we can give our report to Hokage-sama, said the Junin, who was either Lee or his sensei, though Naruto assumed the former based on the sound of the man's voice. Your way of youthfulness is too troublesome for a guy like me, Lee, Shikamaru said, though knowing the boy's mother, she'll nag him into becoming a Junin like his lazy-ass dad. Perhaps we should stay for one day to relax before returning. We're not in any hurry to get back from Konoha, so there's no need to rush, said one Hyuga Hinata, who, like Shikamaru, wore a Chunin vest, indicating that she had advanced quite a bit since Naruto had spoken to her. Hinata. You've grown so much since I last saw you, Naruto observed, finding her face and figure to be a work of art crafted from an angel by Kami himself. Naruto had to see her, no, he had to see her right then and there. Along with Hinata. The Hyuga heiress walked through the streets of Wave Country, her thoughts jumbled and her mind distant as of late concerning her home in Konoha. Within a few months of Naruto's departure, the council made a public statement revoking the late Sandaime S-class secret regarding her crush, calling him a traitor for assisting in Sasuke's defection to Orochimaru, and then calling him a coward for not facing his execution. She had waited 3 years for his return to the human world, and in her heart, she would wait 300 years if it meant being with Naruto. Several rookies had told her that it was simply not possible to love Naruto given his current status in Konoha because the people would not approve, but regardless of them, the once shy Hyuga Hinata refused to love another man, and turned down every would-be suitor who came her way.
The Hyuga elders had attempted several arranged marriages with rich, wealthy, and snobbish boys with reputations for keeping women in line, but Hiyashi had put a stop to that, saying that any of them would weaken the Hyuga blood and produce children who act like pampered snobs, and he also preyed on their fears that it would make Kumo go after them again for their bloodline due to a weak generation of Hyuga being grabbed.
Naruto-kun, please come back to me soon, Hinata thought, desperately wanting to be in his arms again, kissing, hugging, and doing things that would cause the Toad Sannin to die from blood loss if he were to witness it all. Hinata, said a whisper, causing the Hyuga girl to become alert, activate her Byakugan, and immediately go into her gentle fist stance. Fortunately, she had managed to find an unoccupied street, so no one would notice her unusual behavior. Is anyone there? Hinata said, her voice firm and calm despite her fear. Go to a body of water near Tezuna's house. I'll be waiting for you, said the whispery voice, leaving Hinata alone to process the words. Could it be Naruto-kun? Hinata wondered before heading to Tezuna's house, where he had previously spoken with the family about Naruto. A few days later, Hinata arrived at Tezuna's in record time, hoping that Naruto was waiting for her as she had assumed, and when she looked at the lake surrounding the house, she saw him. He was standing on the water wearing all dark clothing as if he were an entity of the shadows themselves. His red eyes, though dangerous looking, were soft as he stared at her before he raised his hand and removed the mask from the lower part of his face, revealing the deep whisker marks. I knew you'd come. Hinata, Naruto said, his fox-like smile making Hinata jump for joy on the inside while on the outside she ran to him with her instincts, channeling chakra to her feet to run on the water to him and embrace him in a full-fledged hug. Naruto-kun. I missed you so much, Hinata exclaimed, noting that he had grown significantly taller than her. As have I, Hinata. With the assistance of a half-demon friend, I came to a revelation, if you will, during my 3 years of Demon World training. I realized I had feelings for you and that you were the one I should have pursued instead of Sakura all those times. I was a stupid fool back then, who had become so blind that I couldn't see the truth that was you, Hinata. Not until you were standing right in front of me, Naruto said, inhaling her scent and enjoying the scent of lavenders that emitted from her body. I'm partly to blame, Naruto-kun. I was so shy and scared back then that I was afraid you'd reject me if I confessed my feelings, but now that everything has happened, we can finally be together, Hinata said, looking up at Naruto, who smiled down at her and kissed her on the lips. Together forever, Naruto said after breaking the kiss and kissing her again, this time with equal force. Will you accompany me to Konoha, Naruto-kun? Tsunade-sama really wants you to come back to see him, Hinata said, knowing that the Fire Lord's protection order would shield him from the Council's execution attempt. I'm sorry, but I can't return just yet to be with you and see the old hag again. There are still the remaining Akatsuki members to deal with after me by the end of the year, Naruto said, looking at Hinata's slightly sad face, but he knew she knew that until the organization was destroyed, everyone he cared about was fair game. Tsunade-sama is attempting to gather the best of the Rookie 9 and 2 of their senseis to form a team to look for your group to recruit in the future should we need your help, Hinata explained, knowing he was the Shinigami Shadow's leader because only her Naruto could be such a leader. Then I anticipate you joining that group. Also, I need you to keep her at bay for at least 2 years before she comes looking for me. Even after we kill all the Akatsuki members, there is still a cleanup job my team and I need to do to ensure that the organization is not resurrected again by some want-to-be world rulers, said Naruto, knowing he had to make sure such unbalance in the world never got out of hand again as long as he was in human world. I recognize Naruto-kun. I'm just glad I could see you as much as I could now after all this time away from you, Hinata said, clutching him tightly. Please tell me about Konoha. How have things progressed since I was gone? Asked Naruto, hoping to divert Hinata's attention away from their 3-year separation. After Tsunade-sama re-evaluated their performances in Team 7, Kakashi-san was demoted to Chunin and Sakura had to be re-educated back at the academy. Sakura graduated easily because of her academic abilities, but she is still shallow and believes you are the reason Sasuke left Konoha. The council gave Jiraiya orders to find you and kill you if the opportunity arose, but I knew he would never carry them out. Tsunade-sama tried to stop them, but the majority of them overruled her decision, leaving her powerless. They also revoked the Sandame's law against you, so now everyone in Konoha is aware of your secret about Kyuubi being inside of you. Hinata observed the reactions of the various people inside Konoha, some of whom appeared fearful, while others were simply curious about her love, wondering if he was the Kyuubi or not. So the asshole didn't tell the village about me being Kyuubi's son, Naruto smiled, knowing that the news would literally scare the village to death. No, Tsunade-sama made sure that information was left out of the speech after my team delivered their report after failing to bring you back. The council couldn't use that part against you with the villagers because Tsunade-sama would tell them all about who your biological father was, but I fear they will find out sooner or later, and not care simply because of Kyuubi, hinted Hinata, knowing that when Naruto did return to Konoha, it would be revealed that Naruto's father was now the very demon that nearly destroyed the Leaf Village. In terms of those two options, I'll take the latter. Is anyone suspicious that I am the Shinigami Shadow's leader? Naruto wondered if Tsunade or Jiraiya had figured it out. No. However, I believe Tsunade or Jiraiya are aware of it, though they will not admit it to anyone, either out of denial or respect for you. You were summoned by the Fire Daimyo himself, according to official information we have from the capital of Fire Country, just days after he was rumored to have met with the leader of the 5 Shinigami Shadows. The council believes you were staying in the capital in secret to avoid detection from the hunter ninjas they sent out to find you, Hinata explained, knowing that the council had sent the best hunter ninja team in Konoha to search every rock and hole for Naruto, but they had all failed miserably. Well, they're going to be in for a horrible shock once they see the new me, Naruto chuckled before kissing her again, making Hinata feel like the whole world was finally going her way. Daimyo's castle, Fire Country, 1 week later. Do you mean I can't persuade you to change your mind? Said the Fire Daimyo as he walked through the gardens, Naruto next to him and his group a few feet back acting as bodyguards for both men. I'm afraid I can't help you, Daimyo-sama. Akatsuki is looking for me and is aware that I am in Fire Country, living with you at your castle. Make no mistake, I have no doubts about your men's abilities or their willingness to defend you if necessary, but I will not have the lives of those who serve you sacrificed for me. Not when they don't have a good enough reason to, other than the fact that I'm acting as your advisor and have my own team to help watch my back, said Naruto, knowing that the warriors who served the daimyo fought for him, but not the advisors who served him. Unfortunately, Naruto-sama, you are correct about all of those things, and I wish I could persuade you to stay longer, but as you said, there are too many enemies after you that not even I can stop. My order of protection for you will stand with the Leaf Village if they try to do anything, and you are always welcome to come back to continue being my advisor after this is over, said the Fire Daimyo, knowing that Naruto's suggestions about policies and trade with other countries were brilliant. Until we meet again, Daimyo-sama, Naruto said, bowing his head to the man, as the feudal lord did as well, knowing of the young warrior's ascension to the position of future king of all demons. It would only be prudent to accord the young man the due respect he deserved. Without another word, Naruto and the other 4 warriors he referred to as his comrades and friends vanished from sight to deal with the annoyance that was Akatsuki. Konoha 4 days later. Tsunade sat in her office, relieved that the C-rank mission she had assigned to the team had gone off without a hitch, but she wanted Hinata to stay for further discussions because the Hokage had noticed the Hyuga girl had a look of peace, almost serenity-like look on her face that had been missing for the past 3 years, and the last time Tsunade saw Hinata with such a look, it was the last time. "What did you want to talk to me about, Hokage-sama?" Hinata said, a little nervously, under the Hokage's seemingly knowing gaze. "How did you enjoy your time in Wave Country, Hinata?" Tsunade said, preparing her questions in her head to catch the Hyuga girl if she chose to be less than receptive in her response. "Good. I ran into Tazuna and his family once more. They're all doing fine," Hinata said, taking care not to bring up anything that might jeopardize her love. Whether it was the Hokage's office or not, the walls had unwelcome ears. "I see. Did you meet any other people while you were in Wave Country?" Tsunade said, her eyes twinkling with something Hinata didn't like. "I really don't know anyone else in Wave Country, Tsunade-sama," Hinata said, trying not to reveal what had happened between her and Naruto. "Oh? It's not even Naruto?" Tsunade said, hoping for the reaction she desired, which she got in the form of a blush rising slowly to her cheeks. "Tsunade-sama, I." Hinata tried to come up with an excuse, but her mind went blank for some reason. "Just tell me he's okay," Tsunade said, increasing the girl's shade of red by several shades. "Oh, he was more than just okay." Hinata closed her eyes, remembering how good it felt to be in Naruto's arms. The feel of his muscles beneath his dark clothes, and his lips kissing her made her want to melt into the ground. "I take it from the look of bliss on your face that your answer is yes," Tsunade said, a small amusement in her voice and on her face at Hinata's new glow all over her form. Before Tsunade let her go, all she could do was nod. Otherwise, 2 weeks later, Pain, Conan, and Toby, as he was known, leapt from tree branch to tree branch as they made their way through the vast forest of trees that stood everywhere around them. Pain had received a message from Itachi that the group the leader of Akatsuki was looking for had gone deep into the Land of Spirits. The Land of Spirits was considered both a holy and unholy place, depending on one's religious beliefs, because the land was rumored to be a combination of sacred and evil energy that lived in symbiotic balance with one another, and it was also rumored that this place was where spirits could temporarily interact with the people of the living. Only one of Akatsuki's 3 members found it amusing that he would be back here in such a place. The 3 S-class missing ninja entered the forest clearing to join Itachi and Kisame in order to strengthen their group's ability to crush the Shinigami shadows. What the hell happened to those 2 idiots? There's always something with them that prevents them from meeting with us on time. Conan frowned as she searched for the Uchiha and former swordsman of the mist. Conan, patience. They may be late at times, but they are dependable when it counts, Pain said, giggling at the prospect of Conan beating up Itachi and Kisame for being a few minutes late. The grin faded as mist settled around the 3 Akatsuki members. Kisame and Itachi never used the hidden mist jutsu when they arrived. It was a ruse. You shouldn't be so trusting of a message just because it has the Akatsuki symbol on it, Naruto said, making his shadowy appearance through the mist with Yugito right behind him. I see. So Itachi and Kisame have been slain, Pain said coldly, knowing that such was the risk of being such a high-ranking missing ninja. No, we're actually going after them after we kill everyone, but if you want someone to blame, blame Zetsu. How do you think we found all of you and tricked you the way we did? Naruto-sama entered his mind and allowed him to talk with Kyuubi so they could have a little heart-to-heart about certain things. Yugito cracked her neck and looked at Conan behind her mask. You seem pretty confident in yourself considering you're outclassed, Conan said as she threw a kunai into the mist, only to hear a clang sound and the same kunai being sent back to her, which she caught. We're not impressed with you considering all the other members fell so easily, Zabuza said, chuckling through the mist and letting it echo for that fear-inducing effect it was known for. We expected more from them, just as we expected more from you, Haku said through the mist, his 2 weapons ready. Now it's time for you all to die in the name of the future Demon King. Kyuubi Naruto, Kimimaro said as he formed two bone swords with his hands. Don't become overconfident just because you believe you outnumber us and are more powerful than we are. We are the strongest of the Akatsuki members, Pain said before nodding to Tobi, who removed his mask to reveal himself as someone who was supposed to have died at the hands of Shodem Hokage. Madara Uchiha. So you're the heir to Kyuubi? From what I can tell with my one, you have your father's eyes, Madara said, his Sharingan eye glowing as he looked at Naruto's. As I had suspected based on what father had told me. You are the Uchiha clan's founder and the reason Kyuubi attacked Konoha, making them all hate me after he was sealed away. Naruto said, his eyes glowing deep red, and he growled at the man in front of him. Oh, he said that? It's not surprising, I suppose, because it's only natural for a father to tell his son everything about his enemies. I'm sure you're surprised that I'm still alive considering I'm just over 100 years old, give or take a few decades, but just so you know, when I was defeated by the Shodem, I had actually died in a physical sense. However, when I died, my spirit refused to leave and came to this location to survive and feed on the darkness that surrounded it. After many years, when I felt strong enough, I left this land to see how Konoha was doing, only to discover that war had come to the Leaf Village. By this time, one man and his genin team were in trouble fighting off Iwa shinobi, with one genin in particular, who happened to be a Uchiha, being labeled Kia after a boulder landed on half of his head. Uchiha Obito was the name of the boy who gave his life to save one Inuzuka Rin and one. Hitaki Kakashi, Madara grinned at the Fox Prince, while Naruto narrowed his eyes at the arrogant clan's founder. That explains why Kakashi has the Sharingan eye and why he favored Sasuke so much over Team 7 as a whole, scowled Naruto, knowing he and Kakashi were about to have a long conversation about how playing favorites causes Psycho Uchihas to emerge from the woodwork. Yes. From what my spirit saw and when they left the boy to die under the weight of the boulder when it was all done, I believe the Inuzuka performed the procedure. Now, I know you think I'm heartless, but unlike Itachi, I won't let a good Uchiha, no matter how strong or weak they are, go to waste. I took control of what became my new body within the second the poor boy died, and because I am the very original founder of the Uchiha clan and all those with its bloodline descended from me, the body had no problem embracing its new owner. Madara knew that if it hadn't been a Uchiha body, his spirit would have been rejected in a matter of seconds. That also explains why you haven't been rejected like Orochimaru by the bodies he's taken over the years, Naruto said, looking at the other two and noticing the woman in the group was still stunned at the sight of someone like Madara alive. Sannin is a moron, and the only reason we let him into the organization was because he was one of our more powerful members when we first started out. However, that was before Itachi and several of the others joined us, making Orochimaru appear insignificant in comparison. We decided to cut him loose only after Orochimaru attempted to take Itachi's Sharingan, but he surprisingly escaped, albeit with the loss of his original hand as proof of his survival. Madara knew that if they hadn't completed their plans on time, the Sannin would have been eliminated by now. We've had our fill of talking. Prepare to die forever, Uchiha. Naruto took the long Nodashi sword from its sheath on his back, while his left hand, hidden in his cape, performed one-handed hand signs. Try it, demon brat. I'll make you act like a dog with my Sharingan before I'm done with you, Uchiha Madara said as he rushed to engage Naruto in battle with a now unsheathed katana while Pain activated his bloodline and Konan prepared to fight Yugito. Demonic Fox Art. Tree of the Damned Jutsu. Exclaimed Naruto, his eyes glowing, before a demonic tree erupted from the ground behind Madara and vines instantly wrapped around him. Madara quickly went through his own one-handed hand signs and burst into flames, emerging seconds later with the demon tree behind him still burning. That was my inner phoenix flame jutsu. I devised for just such an occasion. It completely engulfs me in fire, but I use my chakra and my affinity for it to keep myself from being burned while everything or anyone attached to me dies in a fiery death. Madara smiled at Naruto, who kept his cool, knowing that the real battle was just beginning and that he should be concerned about his health only when it was over. Along with Yugito and Konan. She was having an easier time against Konan with Ni Yugito because the woman used her strange paper-like powers on her. The Nibi vessel, on the other hand, would simply burn them all to ashes before moving in with her 2 fireproof sais in each hand. Despite her skills and time spent with pain training to be as strong as she was, Konan was struggling. When the Nibi vessel moved in for close-range combat, she was using her demonic chakra to superheat her weapons. It forced Akatsuki's only female to retreat and use the various jutsu she knew to repel her. The mist around them didn't help matters. Earth-style. Dragon Spikes Cannon Jutsu! Exclaimed Konan, summoning a dragon that shot wave after wave of hard dirt spikes at Yugito. Nibi Fire Shield Jutsu, Demonic Weapons Art. Yugito was now generating a large amount of Nibi's chakra, which she combined with her 2 sais rotating in perfect sync in her hands to create a dome-like fire shield against the attack. Pain is being fought by Zabuza, Haku, and Kimimaro. Pain discovered himself surrounded by Kimimaro, Haku, and Zabuza, all of whom were looking to carve him up into pieces. Do you really believe you can compete with my bloodline? It's the 3rd legendary bloodline to compete with the Uchiha and Hyuga, Pain stated calmly, looking at Haku in front of him, with Zabuza and Kimimaro at his sides. You don't think we didn't do some background research on each and every one of you before inviting you all here today? Your bloodline, like the Uchihas, must be forcibly activated, but it is just as powerful as the Hyugas, and you must see them, just like any other bloodline of that nature, Zabuza said as he thickened the mist around them, knowing Haku and Kimimaro wouldn't mind. You think thickening the mist will have an effect on my bloodline when it has the ability to manipulate the elements themselves? Let's see how you deal with the 6 paths to pain, said Pain before 5 more bodies appeared around him, each with orange hair and the Rinnegan activated in their eyes. Secret Jutsu, Demonic Ice Mirrors! Exclaimed Haku, encircling all 6 peens in his mirrors and hurling Senbon needles at them from all directions. Do you believe this frail bloodline can stop me? Although it is an impressive technique for such a weak bloodline, it will not prevent me from killing the real you with my eyes. Pain pretended as if the needles had had no effect on him or his other 5 personas. Your trust in me to hurt you with these needles will be your undoing. They are only a distraction. Haku spoke as the usual thick mist began to obscure his form in the mirrors, as well as Kimimaro and Zabuza. If you're referring to your 2 partners in here with you, I'm well aware of them being in here thanks to one of my 5 Pain bodies and I can sense their chakra levels, Pain explained calmly, though he did find the mist annoying. Then we just have to kill them until we get to the real you, exclaimed Zabuza before pursuing 2 Pain bodies at a time, with Haku and Kimimaro following suit. Returning with Naruto and Madara. Naruto had gotten into a sword fight with Madara, who was having trouble with the Fox Prince despite only having 1 Sharingan eye. It could have been because Naruto was far more powerful than the Uchiha had given him credit for, but it could also have been because Naruto had his eyes closed the entire time. When Naruto returned from the demon world, he knew he'd have to face Itachi in battle and deal with the true form of the Sharingan eyes that the man who was the slayer of his own clan possessed. To that end, Naruto had asked Zabuza how he had successfully, to a point, fought Kakashi's own Sharingan eye on the bridge in Wave Country the second time the two fought.
Keeping one's eyes closed, according to the former, Demon of the Bloody Mist, prevents the Sharingan from counteracting close hand-to-hand or possibly weapon-to-weapon movements. In order to create a countermeasure against an offensive measure, the Sharingan eyes needed to see its opponent's eyes. It was one of the few Sharingan eyes flaws that the Uchiha clan would most likely want to keep to themselves if they were all still alive, with the exception of the last 3.
The thick mist Zabuza was currently maintaining was another factor that crippled the Sharingan because it prevented it from seeing clearly enough to use its great power against an opponent. Apart from his already sharp and lethal skills, these two factors were probably the only reason Naruto was now holding his own against the founder of the Uchiha clan. Boy, you're stronger than I gave you credit for. If I had taken you into the organization, I could have turned you into a great shinobi before we extracted the Kyuubi from you, said Madara before dodging a horizontal slash only to counter with an upward thrust that Naruto dodged and countered with a spin kick that successfully hit Uchiha Madara in the head, sending him rolling along the grass. Never disrespect my father like that, speaking his name as if he were nothing but scum because I will not tolerate it in the least, Naruto said through the mist, his killer intent rising, knowing that his demon lord father deserved more respect than a fool like Madara, who thought they could become gods. If you feel that I am disrespecting your so-called father of a demon lord boy, please do something about it. Despite the scars on his face from the previous host's wounds activating the pain receptors in his nerves, Madara smiled. Famous last words, Uchiha Teme, Naruto said, his words echoing through the mist before reappearing behind the unsuspecting Uchiha and slicing him vertically in half just as Madara turned after sensing him from behind only to realize he had moved to the left seconds into his death. His blind spot was the side without an eye. Do you really believe this will deter me, Fox Prince? I will live on as long as there are Uchiha in the world that I can possess, said Madara's spirit as his dark spiritually corrupted form left the body it inhabited, its taint felt by all around him. This time, Madara, your spirit will die with your body. Demonic secret art. Damnation spiritual palm vortex jutsu, said Naruto, raising his left hand to create a black hole-like vortex that began sucking in Madara's spirit. What exactly are you doing? Stop. I give you my command. Madara attempted to fight off the spirit-sucking portal that drew him into the unknown within. You can't command me, Madara, but to answer your question, I'm sending you deep into hell where you belong via a little shortcut my father taught me. As a just in case type of jutsu should you try to live on after your body was destroyed, Naruto said, increasing the vortex's strength to draw Madara's spirit in even more. The dark spirit of Uchiha Madara struggled on, but all of its resistance only drew it deeper into the dark abyss. It seemed fitting for the dark entity that was thought to be more evil than the Kyuubi, and soon the dark spirit of the first Uchiha met his demise at the hands of the son of the fox who had been used to set things in motion for Konoha's original fall. Soon after, another scream of pain came from the female shinobi, but fortunately for Naruto, he had recognized that it was not Yugito's voice. Thus, it was the woman from Akatsuki who let out the agonizing yell, and if he was correct, she was eventually killed. The damn bitch cut deep into my mask with that origami paper shit she does, said an enraged Yugito, upset that her Raikage treasure mask had been damaged in the fight despite her knowledge of the risks involved in wearing it. She's dead now, Yugito-san, so there's no point in fussing over something that can be fixed later, and we have more important matters concerning pain, Naruto said, looking at the ashes that were once Konan before he and Yugito went to aid in Pain's defeat. Returning to Pain. Pain discovered that Haku's demonic ice mirrors were not as weak as he thought, as the young man's speed appeared to be faster than he had previously thought. Not only that, but the speed of both Zabuza and Kimimaro seemed to increase when they were in the presence of ice. It was almost as if Haku was allowing them to move faster than normal for them, making fighting them even more difficult. The most perplexing thing Pain discovered when using all of his forms against them was that his bloodline, despite being an elemental bloodline, was unable to cancel out Haku's. The Rinnegan master felt he was missing something he hadn't seen before, and when he felt a pulse, he looked down to see what it was. A seal. Not just any seal, mind you, but a demon seal only whispered by the oldest of seal masters before Jiraiya and the Yondaime arrived. It was a long-forgotten legend that dated back to the Shodame's childhood. The rumored origin of human seal making comes from the 9 demon lords themselves, who bestow such knowledge and wisdom on those they deem worthy. The problem came later, when the 9 demon lords' knowledge turned against them many years later, as they were sealed up one by one to have their powers used as weapons in human bodies when war came. However, what Pain was standing in was no ordinary human seal, but the genuine article of what a demon would create given the time required. I see you noticed the seal we placed around us. Despite the mist in the battle, I half expected you to pick up on the pulse it gave off every now and then. This seal I made before you arrived is activated by the sealer's chakra, which when activated messes with the person's or people's abilities and bloodlines, depending on the sealer's choice of who to affect. In this case, I chose your Rinnegan bloodline to manipulate the elements around you and prevent you from exploiting them. Naruto emerged from the mist with Yugito as they entered the demonic ice mirrors. I'm not going to fall. I'm not going to die. I am a god among men and women alike. They must worship me in order to gain my favor. Pain expressed his frustration at being backed into a corner. Really? Well, it appears that you are one god who will not be worshipped when we deliver you to the people who will pay us a large sum of money for your corpse. There are all 6 of them. Haku felt a mean streak within him that had been developing over the last 3 years resurface as he threw several senbon needles at the various Pain's eyes, hitting them dead on, making the leader of Akatsuki scream out in, ironically, pain. Ninja art. Chains of the underworld jutsu. Exclaimed Kimimaro before slamming his palms down, causing black heavily spiked chains to wrap around all 6 Pains from head to toe in the deadly-looking metal. No. This cannot be right. I am the god. Yelled Pain, while his other 5 forms struggled as well, only to be severely injured by the spikes digging into their skin. In some cases, Pain-san, even gods, can die, said Naruto before snapping his fingers, and Zabuza removed their heads one by one, leaving them with lifeless bodies. Itachi and Kisame were the only survivors. Konoha 3 weeks later. Tsunade had been staring at the report handed to her for about 15 minutes, her mind doubting what she was reading, only to look up at a solemn Jiraiya. She saw his head nod, confirming that the report was true and that, with the exception of 2 members, all of Akatsuki were dead. Only Itachi and Kisame remained, and it appeared that it was only a matter of time before they, too, were captured by the Shinigami shadows and killed. The council had demanded that Tsunade offer Itachi and, if necessary, Kisame's sanctuary in the hope of attracting Sasuke and the Shinigami shadows. Tsunade, of course, would have none of it because she didn't want Itachi or Kisame to break free and attack another clan, such as the Hyugas or Naras. Aside from that, the real reason the council wanted Itachi alive in the first place was to use him to resurrect the Uchiha clan rather than Sasuke because the elder was clearly stronger. Do you know where they both are, Jiraiya? Tsunade asked, knowing that wherever the 2 were, the Shinigami shadows would be close behind. No. They either left Akatsuki as the only remaining members and went their separate ways, or they remained together in order to have a better chance of survival. We'll find out if they're alive or dead when they resurface, though I imagine they're as shocked as we are by the news about the other deceased members. Jiraiya knew Itachi and Kisame couldn't remain hidden forever. Hokage-sama. Jiraiya-sama. We need you at the gate right away. Chunin, who had been running from whatever post he had been to report to the female fire shadow, was now panting. Why? What's the problem? Tsunade hoped it wasn't an invasion from Iwa or Orochimaru because they didn't need it right now. There you are. Itachi and Kisame have arrived. And are dying, said the Chunin, who couldn't believe 2 of the most notorious missing ninja in the elemental countries were outside their door in such a weakened state. The 2 Sannin left the room immediately to investigate this matter because they couldn't believe it themselves. Moments later, Konoha gates. It was quite a sight to see a mangled Kisame trying to help, and even worse, if that was possible, Itachi through the gates as their blood trailed behind them as it left the bodies. It had gathered quite a crowd of shinobi and civilians who had managed to see it before Kisame collapsed onto the ground, his eyes practically rolling up in the back of his head from the pain. "Hoshigaki Kisame and Uchiha Itachi, you were under arrest for," Tsunade said, only to see Itachi roll over and reveal his face. Or lack thereof. The Uchiha clan assassin lacked both a face and skin. His eyes had been ripped out of their sockets, his tongue had been ripped out, his nose had been broken nearly clean off, his ears were gone, and his jaw was swollen and mostly broken in multiple places. The rest of his body resembled a rusted meat grinder, as he had been sliced, cut, stabbed, and had broken bones in every major part of his body. Kisame was no better, and because he was the larger and considered tougher of the two in terms of physique, he appeared to be on his last legs, ready to die at any moment. His body had fewer cuts than Itachi's, but his prized sword Samahata, which he proudly used in battle and could eat chakra, had been broken about half the length of its original length. His scaly blue left arm was missing along the elbow, and the only reason he wasn't dying from the massive blood loss right now was because the flesh had been burned to prevent that from happening. Both of his legs appeared to have been repeatedly stabbed until they had more holes than Swiss cheese. "You're the Hokage and a legendary medic ninja, right? Then assist us. Please, for the love of Kami, assist us." Kisame struggled to get up, only to fall back down with the sound of another bone breaking, possibly one that had already been removed from its original position within his body. "Someone beat the living crap out of him, but why are you coming here?" Jiraiya frowned at the two, knowing there was no genjutsu on them to make them appear that way, and that their injuries, while real, were not self-inflicted. Itachi's lack of a face was evidence of this. "Who was it that did this to you? Tell me, and I'll think about it." Tsunade knew that at this point, the man would sell his own mother to live another day. "Don't force me to say his name. I don't mind dying, but please don't make me say his name." Kisame whimpered out of his mouth before puking up some blood, a chunk of flesh, and what appeared to be bone. "Who did this to both of you?" Jiraiya knew that it took more than a Sannin or Kage to do this to two incredible powerful shinobi. "Yes. When he told us that all the other Akatsuki members except for us were dead, I thought he was crazy, but when he showed us their bodies, Itachi and I realized that this guy was for real." Itachi had the same thought, but before we could try to flee, we were surrounded by a chakra barrier. I tried using Samahata on it, but it was too thick for my sword to cut through, and when I looked into his eyes, I saw a demon, Kisame said, with only Jiraiya and Tsunade hearing the last 4 words. "What did you say?" Tsunade asked, looking down at the shark man as she attempted to heal him while her assistant Shizune arrived to help save Itachi. "As he fought us, I looked into his eyes and saw the demon where his soul should have been." Itachi tried to use his Sharingan on him, but the man's eyes exploded right in front of mine as he screamed in pain. That move alone could have been the proverbial beginning of the end for us in that one-sided fight. Kisame's eyes were filled with fear, which Tsunade and Jiraiya didn't think was possible for such a crazy mist swordsman. "What is his given name? Can we protect you?" Tsunade couldn't believe she was thinking about protecting people from the same organization that was after her little brother. "I'm unable to say his name. He forbids me from telling you that I would seek your assistance, knowing that as a doctor, you were obligated to heal me." Kisame refused to say the name of the person who had sent him and Itachi so close to death. "Can Itachi, at the very least, be used to breed new Uchiha?" Danzo knew that getting at least one Uchiha under his control was a real possibility. "You can't," Kisame exclaimed, as if the scarred man's question would bring the end of the world. "Why?" asked Tsunade, and she swears she heard Itachi whimper in fear, just like Shizune. He told us that if one person was chosen to give birth to a Uchiha, he would come here to kill Itachi, me for failing to stop it, and the woman herself who would be carrying the child, Kisame said, not wanting to give his attackers any reason to pursue him. Who is this assailant of yours? Call out his name. Danzo spoke in a commanding tone, tired of this fear-induced resistance to the unanswered question. Please forgive me for what I'm about to do and what I've been resisting since the beginning. The man who harmed us is the leader of the 5 Shinigami Shadows. He is known as the Shinigami King. Kisame said this before his head hit the ground and he finally fell into blissful unconsciousness. A single figure wearing a cloak and mask heard the entire confession of one Hoshigaki Kisame not far within the forest, just outside the gate. Kisame's master would be both pleased and disappointed in him for spilling his guts like that, believing that the shark man could at least withstand some interrogation before cracking. Though the figure reasoned that given his leader's wrath against the two, it was only natural for Kisame to tell them now rather than later. So they now know who is behind the Shinigami Shadows, albeit only by his nickname. However, only when they discover his true identity will they truly fear Naruto-sama. On that day, it will be the start of what will soon be their judgment day for the Leaf Village as well as all others who played a part in his pain, Haku thought now, scowling at the place that his master once admired so much. Looking up at the monument's 5 Hokage heads, Haku could only imagine what the faces would look like. Covered in the blood of Naruto's enemies.
So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.